right? Cut. There you go. Perfect. Exactly. That was Uru's mistake, right? They decided to chop down the trees, right? Or to cut down the trees to expand a little bit more. But it was a mistake because it had many bad consequences, right? But what happened, or what was happening in Anuradhapura, Mariana? How were the trees treated? I mean, what was the perspective that the population in Anuradhapura had related to trees? How do they treat them?
The relation with the trees.
Yes, exactly, in Anuradhapura.
I'm not sure, but I can remember that the trees for the people are sacred, and also the people gives I don't know what I say, what I like, a libation maybe, but for the people the trees are very very sacred.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Let me share my screen to begin with the topic. And I'm going to show you, instead of that word, Marina, try to only say sacred, like this, right? Sacred. All right? But you're right. The trees are sacred, right? The trees were sacred. That's why they didn't chop them down, right? They were taking care of the trees. And you can also say this word reverence, right?
Mhm.
Religious reverence showed farmers' access. So you were right. The trees in Anuradhapura were being taken care of. They were very important for that city, and that's why it was a success. But now we're going to continue, and in this next part, please pay attention, Mariana. We're going to listen to what are like the benefits of having trees in, let's say, cities. All right, so let's pay attention, please.
Think of nature as being unconnected to our urban spaces, but trees have always been an essential part of successful cities. Trees act like a natural sponge, absorbing stormwater runoff before releasing it back into the atmosphere. The webs of their roots protect against mudslides while allowing soil to retain water and filter out toxins. Roots help prevent floods while reducing the need for storm drains and water treatment plants. Their porous leaves purify the air by trapping carbon and other pollutants, making them essential in the fight against climate change.
All right, so in this very short like part of the video, this person has mentioned many benefits about trees. Of course, perhaps I'm not going to be waiting that you can tell me all of those benefits, but tell me what were you able to understand about this part of the video, please, Mariana?
Okay. Um, yes, it's correct. The video mentions a lot of benefits, but that I can understand. The first is absorb for the atmosphere. These types of trees are in central parks and also can retain toxics. Um, I don't know why, and also purify the air.
Mhm.
For retain toxics, I I maybe that's referred to for the I don't know what I say, insectos.
Bugs or insects? It's okay, insects or bugs.
Okay, for insect.
Okay, all right. So let's take a look at this. Most of what you're saying is very true, Mariana. Let's verify. We're going to watch it again, but with the subtitles. Look, it begins by saying that trees have always been an essential part of successful cities. It means that if a city is going to be successful, it's going to be one that has some trees. Let's see why.
Have always been an essential part of successful cities. Trees act like a natural sponge.
So the first part, it was right? What you mentioned, Mariana. They are like natural sponge, it says. They absorb, right, storm water runoff, like for example, rain drains, right? What we use in cities. But this is artificial. What we have here is natural. The trees absorb the water that is raining They have it there, and after that, they do something else.
Sponge, absorbing stormwater runoff before releasing it back into the atmosphere.
Right, so one more time. And after that, they release it back. It's like, say, they return the water into the atmosphere, right? So it's a more natural process. It rains, the trees absorb the water, they have it in the roots, and after some time, it like goes back to the atmosphere, right? Let's say those are the first two benefits. The first benefit, that the water is absorbed. We don't need sub drains to do it. And the second one is that that water, like a very natural and purified water, is going to go back to the atmosphere. Let's check the
The
next.
webs of their roots protect against.
This is very interesting, and I want to see if you understand this, Mariana. Can you read this sentence, please, in the captions?
Yes, the webs of the roots protect against mudslides.
There you go. What do you understand about this, Mariana?
Mm, mudslides is like musgos, maybe. Um,
Mudslide is going to be something like I don't know. In for example, I think in Bolivia, in cities like La Paz, even Cochabamba, they live in places like this, hills, mountains. When it rains, the ground right gets wet, and it produces mudslides. So the ground goes down and down and down and can destroy houses. All right. So that's a mudslide. It's like wet ground, all right, that is destroyed. And if you don't have trees, as you can see, the trees here are like secure in the ground, so it's not going to go down. But if you don't have trees and it's only like this is going to get wet and it's going to go down and down. All right. It's very similar to what they call like una especie de derrumbe, sometimes they call it. All right, related to hills, and they prevent this. And what is preventing those mudslides? The trees. The roots of the trees make this part of the ground be more like be safer, and it doesn't move. That's why in this part they are not going to have mudslides. All right. I don't know if you understand that idea, Maria.
yes, teacher, I can understand.
Okay. Do you live in a city in which you have a lot of mudslides, or it's not that common in your city?
Yes, it's very common. La Paz is like an olla, like I don't know what to say olla, but it's all about trees in the
Yes.
mountains, especially.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It happens a lot. I've heard lots of news in many places. I told you La Paz, and I think it happened some years ago in Cochabamba. So you have these kind of natural disasters, right? So
Yes.
the thing is that if you had trees over there, it doesn't happen because a lot of trees are going to, as you can see, make that part of the land very firm. So it's not going to move. There are not going to be mudslides. But unfortunately, what many cities do, they chop down the trees, right? And that's why they don't have like good roots. They are destroyed, and as a consequence of that is that they have houses built there, and the land very easily gets wet, and it can produce a mudslide. Have you ever been or have you ever witnessed a mudslide like in real life, Mariana?
No, teacher.
Only you watch it on news.
Yes, yes, only news.
Okay.
No, 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 no. In 2019, La Paz have a natural disaster in the Avenida Cantutani, in the Avenue Cantutani. Also, it's because the trees get down.
All right, all right. Yes, that's very unfortunate, right? That's why many people fight for having trees. And I don't know if you agree with that, Mariana. How much important is for you to have trees in places like this, like hills, to prevent mudslides and those disasters? Is it really important for you, Mariana, or is it something that perhaps you ignored before?
Mm, honestly, teacher, I don't know a lot of these notice. I can understand in this class, but for this video, I think that is very important, the importance that have many trees for prevent
Good. Preventing? You can say
preventing,
preventing.
yes, preventing other natural disasters. I feel really sad because La Paz had chopped the trees.
Yes, yes, that's correct. I think we can make some changes, right? Little by little. I know La Paz City, I think it's a really beautiful place. But yes, perhaps the big mistake that people in La Paz have made is that they have destroyed lots of trees, right? And they are building many, many houses in places that are really dangerous. I think there are ways to fix that, but you need to work with experts, right? There are many experts that work with environment, trees, so it's really important that you can hire some experts that can help you out to make good decisions, right? Before having more natural disasters. So let's continue. This is another benefit, but we have two more. I don't know. I know that we are on time, but let's listen to these couple more benefits.
Against mudslides while allowing soil to retain water.
This is what you mentioned, right? Instead of toxics, you can say toxins, right? Toxins. So
Yes,
the soil is the land, the ground. So when it retains water, it filters out toxins, and that's really interesting. All right. So also trees have the ability of eliminating some toxins. All right. That's really important. And toxins of the water. That's something that perhaps many people don't know. We have two more.
Water and filter out toxins. Roots help prevent floods.
This one over here. Do you know what's the meaning of floods, Mariana?
sorry, teacher, my
Oh,
microphone. I
don't worry.
yes, it's also a natural disaster. It's like inundaciones in Spanish.
Yes, that's correct. Exactly. Do you have a lot of floods in La Paz
Mm, in
or
La
not
Paz,
many?
not much, not really much, but especially in the rivers, because La Paz is building above the rivers, but in Bolivia, in Santa Cruz and Beni, it's many common see and appreciate floods.
All right, all right. Yes, because I think La Paz is like above, right? Above the sea level, but Santa Cruz and Beni are very close, like to sea level. And the rivers, they have many, many rivers, right? And I think they have
Yes.
many more floods. All right. But as you can see, also, the roots of the trees help prevent these floods. That's really interesting. And the last benefit is this one.
While reducing the need for storm drains and water treatment.
This is related to that, right? Storm drains is like what we use artificially to get rid of the water so that we don't have floods, right? But in this case, if you have trees, you don't need those like storm drains because the trees do that work naturally. And
Plants. Their porous leaves purify.
this is the last one that you mentioned as well, right? This is something that the leaves do, right? These are leaves. So they purify the air. So they trap this carbon and other pollutants, and they give purified, right, elements to people to breathe and even to all the environment. Now, that's going to be it. I don't know if you have any final questions or comments before finishing, Maria.
It's all clear, teacher, but I have a question for vocabulary, and I don't know what is the meaning of a sponge.
Which one? Sponge, you say?
Uh-huh. Spongi.
This one over here, right? I'm going to show you again. Give me a moment. This one.
Yes,
Is this the word?
yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't know if you have watched the TV show. It's like SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, yes.
All right. So that's a sponge. All
Uh,
right.
uh,
That's a
okay.
sponge. A sponge is something that absorbs, right? That's a
Okay.
sponge, Mariano. Do you get the idea?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Very well. Any other questions or doubts that you may have?
No, teacher, it's all clear.
Perfect. Thank you very much then for being here today
Like a
again.
natural
Yes.
sponge, absorbing stormwater
Let me
runoff
stop this.
before
My mistake. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow for the class, and I hope you have a great night.
Bye, teacher. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye. Hello, good evening, Daniela.
Hello, teacher. Good night.
Hello. All right, Daniela, let's begin then today's conversation. We're going to have a different topic. I'm going to show you, this video, and we're going to analyze it the way we did before. All right? So let me share my screen. So, all right, it's not there. There you go. So today's topic is going to be related to music this time, Daniela. Do you know something about music? How much do you like music, and Daniela, and what kind of music do you like?
I like so much music, and I listening pop, Latin music.
Okay, very
I
well.
listening everything.
To everything, all right. Uh, Perhaps you don't have like something that you listen all the time, but do you consider that you can have like a favorite artist or a favorite group, band, something like that, Daniela?
Um, Favorite. I have much. I have a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's like plenty of things that you listen to. So today we're going to
Yes.
learn, right? You know that all musicians perhaps have something in common, at least the ones that we know, right, in the western part of the planet. For pop music, rock music, for classical music, and so on, they need to know how to read music, right? And this is going to be a very short video in which perhaps we're going to learn the basics of music and how to read it. Okay, so let's pay attention, and I'm going to be asking you what you understand. Let's begin with this, please.
When we watch a film or a play, we know that the actors probably learned their lines from a script, which essentially tells them what to say and when to say it. A piece of written music operates on exactly the same principle. In a very basic sense, it tells a performer what to play and when to play it. Aesthetically speaking, there's a world of difference between, say, Beethoven and Justin Bieber. But both artists have used the same building blocks to create their music: notes. And although the end result can sound quite complicated, the logic behind musical notes is actually pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at the foundational elements to music notation and how they interact to create a work of art.
All right. This accent can be a little bit different, difficult, right? It's like an accent from Europe, but it's important that we can understand and we can be able, right, to listen to any accent in English. So it was perhaps a little bit hard, but Daniela, what were you able to understand in this first part of the video?
Okay. Um, yes, it was very difficult. But I understand that exists different type of music, and that Justin Bieber and one singer that I don't remember the name,
Hmm.
um, both um, are very similar singers, I think.
Okay, okay. The word on something like that. Tell me, Daniela,
Sorry, teacher?
did you say something else?
No, not teacher.
Okay, so yes, you are like getting close to it. Now I'm going to try to turn on the captions. I hope that it works this time, but because it was not writing very well. But let's now listen to it again. Well, watch it, and let's listen to
Watch a film or a play, we
the
know that the
captions.
actors probably learned their lines from a script, which essentially tells them what to say and when to say it.
All right, so again, the captions are a little bit behind. I don't know, but I'm going to help you out. Here in the first part, this is comparing to what someone in the theater does, right? When you are in the theater, when you're an actor, you have to memorize some scripts, okay? A script is like un guion, right? So people who work at theater have to memorize scripts. Have you ever participated in theater or have you ever gone to any theater or any play, Daniela?
Um, Dancing, yes, I danced in the theater.
Okay, okay, very well. So you have experience there, not acting but dancing, right? In the case of acting, they sometimes have to memorize what they have to say, right? Their scripts, sus guiones. So here they are comparing this with music. And how? ¿Cómo lo están comparando? Like this.
A piece of written music operates on exactly the same principle. In a very basic sense, it tells a performer what to play and when to play it.
All right. So here they are saying that musics, right? Or well, music or in music, musicians do the same. They instead of a script, right? En lugar de guiones, they have to read music. Tienen que leer música. They have to memorize that. Here, that part of music tells them, right? Les dice, escuchemos la última parte que es más clara. Les dice qué tocar y cuándo tocar. Let's listen to that.
What to play and when to play it.
Right? What to play and when to play it. So this like script for musicians, es entre comillas guión para músicos, is going to tell them what to play, right? Diferentes notas, and when to play it. Tocarlo acá, 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 with different rhythm, right? So that's what he's trying to compare. Es lo que se tratan de comparar en este punto. Here he mentions Justin Bieber. No menciona, veamos cómo lo menciona. Let's listen to it.
There's a world of difference between, say, Beethoven and Justin Bieber, but both.
Right? It says there's a world of difference between Beethoven and Justin Bieber. Do you get that idea, Daniela?
Yes, yes, teacher.
Okay, so they are comparing like a classical, right, interpreter with a modern, like pop singer, and it's okay. They are saying they are very different, of course, different kind of music, classical music, pop music. But what is the similarity? Let's listen.
Both artists have used the same building blocks to create their music. No,
All right. They have used the same blocks to create the music. So what they have used is notes. Okay, this is the common like thing with all musicians. Justin Bieber, Beethoven, and any musician that you know, they have to use notes to create or to write music. So let's keep listening from this part. Desde esta parte es nuevamente algo nuevo. Let's try to understand again everything that you can. All right? Let me play one more time.
notes. And although the end result can sound quite complicated, the logic behind musical notes is actually pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at the foundational elements to music notation and how they interact to create a work of art. Music is written on 5 parallel lines that go across the page.
Okay, we're going to pay attention from this part. Desde esta parte vamos a empezar a prestar más atención. From this part.
Okay.
Music is written on 5 parallel lines that go across the page. These 5 lines are called a staff, and a staff operates on 2 axes, up and down and left to right. The up and down axis tells the performer the pitch of the note, or what note to play, and the left to right axis tells the performer the rhythm of the note, or when to play it.
All right, until that part. I know we have new words, but this is going to be really useful. What do you get in this part, Daniela?
Okay, that um, the the musics have I don't know how to say, like a letter or something like that,
Uh-huh.
that they componer is I don't know,
Compose. You can say compose or write. You can
compose.
say write also. Good.
Okay, they compose the music with 5 lines,
Very
and in
good.
the 5 lines they write the rhythm and the I don't remember the word.
Very
Pitch.
good. You can say the yes, the pitch or the notes, right?
No.
The pitch or the notes. Very good. Exactly. There you go. You're doing great. Let's continue.
Let's start with pitch. To help us out, we're going to use a piano, but this system works for pretty much any instrument you can think of. In the Western music tradition, pitches are named after the first 7 letters of the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. After that, the cycle repeats itself: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. But how do these pitches get their names?
Okay. And that part, Daniela, what do you get in that part of the video?
Okay, that the piano instrument have 7 notes, and they call A B C D E F G, and the contin uh,
Or the following part, you can say the following part or the continuation.
okay, the following part have the same name.
Very well, exactly. But the only difference is that it's a little bit higher. Es un poco más alto, right? It's a little bit like higher. Good, very well. So these are the notes, right, in English. For example, you have here C, D, E, F, G, A, as you say, right, until G, and it repeats. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it repeats, right? And this is for all instruments, right? Not only the piano, all instruments use this logic. Let's listen a little bit more.
Well, for example, if you played an F and then played another F higher or lower on the piano, you'd notice that they sound pretty similar compared to, say, a B. Going back to the staff, every line and every space between 2 lines represents a separate pitch. If we put a note in one of these lines or in one of these spaces, we're telling a performer to play that pitch. The higher up on the staff a note is placed, the higher the pitch. But there are obviously many, many more pitches than the 9 that these lines and spaces give.
All right. In that part, again, please, Daniela, what are you able to understand in that little part?
Okay, that the composition
Uh-huh.
uh, in the lines has have the
Very
notes,
good.
and if is right in depends in the space that the note is right, the musician
Mhm.
to to play in these notes.
Very well. Great. That's it, Daniela. It is perfect. You can say, remember, if you want to say escrito, instead of write, it's better if you say write is present or base form. The past is wrote, but you need to use the past participle, which is written. Okay, so you can say it depends where the note is written, right? If the note is written, for example, in this line, the musician has to play the B note, right? If the note is in the space, in this space, right? It's written in this space, the musician has to play this note, right? So that's my only correction over there. Written instead of write. Very good. And this is the last part. Con lo ultimito, con eso terminamos.
Okay.
But there are obviously many, many more pitches than the 9 that these lines and spaces give us. A grand piano, for example, can play 88 separate notes. So how do we condense 88 notes onto a single staff? We use something called a clef. A clef is a weird-looking figure placed at the very beginning of the staff, and it acts like a reference point telling you that a particular line or space corresponds to a specific note on your instrument. If we want to play notes that aren't on the staff, we kind of cheat and draw extra little lines called ledger lines and place the notes on them. If we have
Okay, until this part to finish. This was a little bit harder, I think. But what were you able to get in this last part, Daniel?
Okay, that exist many notes, and the composition divide in different mm, in different groups.
Okay, very
And
well.
for example, in the piano, they have different groups, and the musicians have to read the notes and depends of the I don't know the name of the symbols.
Okay, very good. You can call this like clefs, right? It depends on the clef. Very
Okay.
good. Very good. Great. All right. Great, Daniela. We're going to finish here. I know that this is not something related perhaps to your hobby or to your activities, but it's very important because you know that if we want to learn a language, right, we have to be able to understand vocabulary related to all areas possible. So here you know a little bit more vocabulary about music, right? For example, this is the staff, this is a clef, right? These are notes, and you know the name of the notes in the American system, which is these letters, right? Do you have any
Yes.
final questions or comments before finishing, Anita?
What teacher? You.
Perfect. Let's finish here then. Thank you for being here again. I'll see you tomorrow for continuing the class, Anita.
Okay, teacher. Goodbye.
Bye bye. See you tomorrow. Hello, good evening, Gaston. Are you there?
Good evening, teacher. Yes, I am here. How are you?
That's perfect. I'm fine, Gaston. Thank you very much. What about you? Is everything okay?
Yes, teacher. It's
All right.
okay.
Perfect. Let's continue working with if you remember, we were talking about trees, right? And the benefits of having some trees. And I told you, right, we were
before
going to go
releasing it.
back, sorry, we were going to go back to this to be sure that we understand all the vocabulary, right? So I'm going to play one more time what I played the last conversation, Gaston. And if you have questions about specific words, you're going to let me know. But let's understand this one more time. So let's play it from this part over here. Let's listen, please.
Urban spaces, but trees have always been an essential part of successful cities. Trees act like a natural sponge, absorbing stormwater runoff before releasing it back into the atmosphere.
All right, so let's understand little by little again. This one is the first benefit of trees, right? You were explaining this very well, Gaston. Can you try to explain this benefit of trees again, please?
Teacher, sorry, can you repeat the video, please? But because
Yes,
I can hear very well.
of course. I'm going to play it again, and I'm going to play only the part of the first benefit. All right, let me play it.
Part of successful cities. Trees act like a natural sponge, absorbing stormwater runoff before releasing it back into the atmosphere.
All right, that's the first benefit, Gaston. Were you able to listen to it?
Yes, teacher, that's perfect.
Okay,
Okay, the trees are a natural sponge when it's running, raining. Sorry,
very good.
and this is very well for the atmosphere.
Very good, exactly. Why? And why is it good? Because when it rains, right, trees absorb like sponges, right, or like a sponge. It absorbs the water, and after some time, it releases back the water to the atmosphere, right, or it releases it back into the atmosphere. That's great. So that was the first benefit. Let's go to the next one, Gaston.
The webs of their roots protect against mudslides while allowing soil to retain water and filter out toxins.
Okay, those were the next two benefits, Gaston. I'm going to show it there. How can you explain these next like two benefits that it has?
Um, the the water, um, fall in the soil,
Very good.
and and but this I don't know how to say, eh, la caída, sorry, de caída del agua
Yes, you can
evita
say,
las inundaciones.
okay, okay, good. So you want to say caída del agua it would be? Yes, but okay. Fall, when something falls is like cayendo, right? So the rain falling or the water falling, right? Avoid is like evitar, right? Avoid. And inundación is going to be this word over here. Look, floods, all right?
Floods.
So you can say very good. So yes, trees help avoid, right? Avoid, evitar, ayudan a evitar what? Floods. Very good. But here, before floods, antes de las inundaciones, it shows something else. Mudslides es lo que llaman como los derrumbes cuando hay lluvias, ¿no? Tiene una especie de nombrecito especial en español that I forgot. Es una especie de derrumbe de la tierra mojada. All right? When it rains, right, the land or the soil gets wet. La tierra, ¿no? El suelo se humedece. And when you don't have trees, cuando tú no tienes árboles ahí, and it's wet, it can go down, right? It can go down. Puede como derrumbarse o ir hacia abajo. That's going to be called a mudslide, ¿no? Como una especie de derrumbe. So, one of the benefits is that the webs of the roots, these are the webs of the roots, ¿no? Esas son las partes de las raíces de los árboles. These protect against mudslides. ¿Por qué evita que haya derrumbes? Because as you can see, como se puede ver acá, asegura la tierra, right? It makes the ground more firm or solid, ¿no? Lo hace más sólido. That's why mudslides are prevented, son prevenidos. But also a second thing that you were mentioning very well is that the water, right, that is retained in the soil next to trees, ¿no? El agua que queda acumulada en el suelo cerca de los árboles, ¿qué beneficio tiene? They are filtered out, son eliminadas. ¿Y qué cosa específicamente? Las toxinas, right? So trees help all of that, ¿no? Ayudan a todo este proceso los árboles. And in the following part, what you mentioned very well, Gaston, it's floods. The roots of the trees help prevent floods. Now, here goes my question, Gaston, for you. In the city that you live, do you have a lot of floods in your city?
When rain a lot, yes,
Okay,
because
all
we
right,
don't have any trees.
all right. Yeah, so that's the main problem, right? Sometimes cities have chopped down the trees, right? They have cut down the trees and they don't have how to prevent floods. How often, Gaston, how often do you have floods in your city? How often?
Um, um, for um, how to say veces?
Times. You can say times.
Okay,
Four
okay.
times.
4 times at year.
Okay, 4 times a year. That's a lot, actually, right? That's a lot. Perhaps other cities have more, but 4 times a week, it's a lot. And during what season it happens, Gaston? What season? Is it during winter, autumn, spring? Do you remember?
Um,
Or do you remember during which month it happens the most?
yes. In June. This year at January. Um, I don't know. In July. In July.
Okay, July,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
July. Okay, so January, June, July, perhaps those are the months in which you have these raining seasons, perhaps, right? It rains a lot and it gets floods. And specifically speaking about your personal experience, Gaston, have you been like personally, right, face to face in a flood, or you only
No,
watched it in TV in some parts of your city?
no, I only see in TV or videos the floods.
All right. Okay. In the part that you live, that is the city, uh, there is not that much floats like in any other places, right?
Sorry, teacher?
In the part of the city that you live, Gaston, there are not too many floats there, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, good. Let's continue. Look, because you mentioned very well, because you don't have trees, right? Or into that part of your city, many floods can happen. But let's see one more benefit of trees.
while reducing the need for storm drains and water treatment plants. Their porous leaves purify.
This one, right? So this is the most known benefit of trees, right? The porous of these leaves help purify the air, right? By trapping carbon and other pollutants. Now here goes my question, Gaston. First, you can let me know if you have any questions about vocabulary. And second, Gaston, I would like you to tell me how much do you think your city cares about trees or the environment?
Um, in my city, don't have a lot of car with the trees
All right.
because when we need a building, uh, they uh, how to say talar the
Ah,
trees.
you can say, I'm going to write in the chat. You can say they chop down. All right. Chop down or cut down. It's in the chat, Gaston. Okay. They chop down
Okay.
or cut down the trees. All right. All right. So if they have to build something new, people in your city chop down trees to build that, right?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think is an alternative for not doing that, Gaston? Do you think that's the only possible way of doing it? Or what alternative would you like propose? What is a good
Mm,
alternative?
I I building I don't know more departments in places when don't have trees, or when I chop down a tree, I uh, sembrar other
Ah,
in other place.
good, good. You can use the word even very similar to plant. You can plant other trees. Okay, plant. To plant
Plant.
can be also simpler. Ah, exactly. I'm writing the verb. To plant or only plant, plantar o sembrar. All right. So yeah, very
Okay.
good. So when you cut down trees, you can plant other trees, right? To replace that, para reemplazar, to replace. Okay, very good, Gaston. We're going to try to listen a little bit more, but do you have any questions so far, Gaston? ¿Alguna pregunta hasta el momento de palabras o algo?
Yes, teacher. I don't understand the words. Uh, pollutant, pollutant.
Okay, good. Look, in English, more than contamination, más que contaminación, hablar del medio ambiente, we talk about pollution. Pollution es la palabra real en inglés para contaminación, alright? Pollution. Pollution is contaminación. So pollutants are like saying contaminantes, alright? So the leaves of the trees help purify and eliminate some other pollutants. Ayudan a eliminar también otros contaminantes, aparte del carbón, ¿no? Porque un contaminante es el carbón. Other pollutants means otros contaminantes. All right. What else, Gaston? Any other question that you may have, Gaston?
Oh, sorry, teacher. Yes, yes. I don't understand the word trapping.
Ah, trapping, like here, trapping. right? When you
Yes.
trap someone, it means that you are going to, do you know this word? I'm going to use the only base form, trap. For example, if you have some rats in your house, right? If you have some rats in your house, you can set some traps, right? And what
Yeah.
is the trap? A trap exactly is a device that helps trapping a rat. All right. So when you have rats, you want to trap a rat. All right. You want to trap a rat. Quieres atrapar, right? So trapping is like that. Atrapa los contaminantes and purifies them. No, y los purifica. All right. That's trapping. They trap the carbon and other pollutants. That's the function of the leaves. Esa es la función de las hojas, ¿no? Atrapar
Okay.
algunas cosas negativas y purificar. All right? What about other words, Gaston? Any other questions that you may have?
Poros.
That's related to, for example, in your skin, right, Gaston? En nuestra piel, todos tenemos esto, porous, right? And
Okay.
also the leaves, they also have porous, right? So that's why what happens is that the pollutant goes to the leaves and the porous traps them, ¿ya? Los poros son los que atrapan esos contaminantes y se encargan de purificar. All right, so that's porous. There you
Okay.
go. So, Gaston, because of the time again, we're going to be stopping here. Do you have any final questions or comments before finishing?
No, no, teacher.
Perfect. Thank you very much for being here today, Gaston. I'll be waiting for you tomorrow for the next class. All right?
Okay, teacher. Thank you very
Perfect.
much. See you tomorrow.
You're very welcome. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye, teacher. Bye.
Hello, Marcelo. Are you there?
Yes, teacher, I'm there. Hello.
That's perfect. How's everything going? Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's everything okay, teacher. Thanks.
Great. Perfect, Marcelo. So we're going to continue. Actually, I have like something different for you this time. I was checking this with um, Daniela. It's a different topic, this time related
But
to
there
music. All right. And we're going to learn some basic things about music because, as I was saying to your partners, it's important to know vocabulary about everything, right? So, first, I'm going to be asking you some questions, Marcelo. How much do you like music, and what kind of music do you listen to?
Uh, I I think that I'm a big fan of music, and the genres that I listen is when I am with my friends, I listen reggaeton.
Okay.
uh, when I'm alone, uh, I I used to listen uh, rock. I don't know. My favorite band of rock is Queen, and
Okay, great.
so yeah,
That's interesting, right? Because those genres, many people hate, right? Many people who like rock hate reggaeton, and sometimes people who like reggaeton they hate rock, right? But you like both. That's interesting. That's great. That's great. But it's more like you were saying, right? Sometimes reggaeton could be when you're with your friends, when you go to dance, something like that, or have fun. But rock is more like personal, right?
yeah.
Okay. Have you ever, what about concerts or presentations, Marcelo? Have you ever had the chance of going to, well, to some concerts, rock concerts, for instance?
Unfortunately, I've never been in a concert.
Okay, okay. But I imagine that you have watched some concerts online, right? In some videos.
Yeah, I like to see the middle time of Super Bowl, and it is a
Okay.
spectacular show. Yeah,
Yes. Yes, in the Super Bowl, right? Exactly. In that time, they have the best artists around. I think one of the last shows was with the Weekend, right?
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. They have many years ago. They were also with Madonna, with Michael Jackson, and with many other artists. Also, I think Maroon 5 was invited in some of the recent Super Bowls. So great, great. I think those are interesting, right? Presentations or concerts, let's say, because they are entertaining, right? Now we're talking about music. Now, what do all those musicians have in common? Even the ones, perhaps we know that sometimes if you're into reggaeton or something like that, they are not like musicians from conservatories, right? Even rock musicians, they are not musicians or big musicians from conservatories. But sometimes when they want to create music, they have to write music, right? And they use the same elements to communicate. This is what we're going to be seeing here. Have you ever learned this in school, perhaps, Marcelo? Do you know how to write music or how to read music?
Uh, uh, no, I remember that I not learned about that.
Okay, so this is what we're going to learn. Okay, in a very basic way, we're going to see what do musicians do to read music. This accent, Marcelo, is going to be a little bit like challenging, a little bit hard. For some people, it's hard. I don't know what you're going to think about this accent. This is like British or European accent. This person is going to be speaking like from normal pace to fast pace. So it's going to be that's why a little bit challenging. There's not going to be captions today. So let's try to understand everything we can, and I'm going to help you with some of the parts. Okay? Let's begin with this.
When we watch a film or a play, we know that the actors probably learned their lines from a script, which essentially tells them what to say and when to say it. A piece of written music operates on exactly the same principle. In a very basic sense, it tells a performer what to play and when to play it. Aesthetically speaking, there's a world of difference between, say, Beethoven and Justin Bieber. But both artists have used the same building blocks to create their music: notes. And although the end result can sound quite complicated, the logic behind musical notes is actually pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at the foundational elements to music notation and how they interact to create a work of art.
Okay.
Music
So
is
until
written
that
on
part,
5 parallel lines.
okay. What were you able to understand in that first part that was like the introduction of this video, Marcelo? What can you remember, or how can you explain that information?
Okay. Uh, the it was talking about when uh, when do and when put that part of the music.
Okay.
I understood that, and it and also it was talking about uh, I I think that Beethoven, I don't know, and Justin
Yes.
Bieber, and they said that they are different, but they are created of music, and it is the same.
Yes.
And that's all.
Correct. Correct. You're right. I think that was the most important part, Marcelo. There you go. They are mentioning that even that Beethoven, right, and Justin Bieber, they are a world of difference, right? They have something in common, and it's the way they have created that music. Of course, Beethoven compositions, right, are going to be like more complex than Justin Bieber's, right? It's going to be way more complex because you have some symphonies, you have many instruments going on in Beethoven's compositions. While in Justin Bieber, of course, and this is not because it's Justin Bieber, it's because in pop music is not as complex as classical music, right? But they say that yes, as you were saying, what they have in common is that they both use music notation. It means they both use notes, right? These are notes in music, Marcelo. The whole, the half, the quarter, the eighth. These are notes. These indicate sometimes rhythm or how you're going to play music. And at the beginning, they mentioned something because this one over here. Let's listen to this. You mentioned something similar.
The performer what to play and when to play it.
Right? So these
Mhm.
elements, right? For example, these elements over here, I think this one, let me see. I cannot see it here. Well, it's weird. So let's say these elements over here are going to tell, right, the musician what to play and when to play, right? So let's learn about that. I'm going to play now again this, and you're going to learn to understand music notation here, Marcelo. Let's pay attention to this.
Music is written on 5 parallel lines that go across the page. These 5 lines are called a staff, and a staff operates on 2 axes, up and down and left to right. The up and down axis tells the performer the pitch of the note, or what note to play, and the left to right axis tells the performer the rhythm of the note, or when to play it.
Okay, until this part, we're going to go little by little. What do you get from this part of the explanation, Marcelo?
Okay, it talked about the stuff,
Correct.
and it has a I I didn't listen, but it was talking about uh, one the first part and the second part, the
Uh-huh.
two first lines, and the other two and the middle, and also it talked about the part that is divided. Is it okay?
Okay, rhythm. Okay, I'm going to help you out with this, Marcelo. You're doing okay, but we're going to explain this stuff again, right? You're going to see that it's easy. So this is the stuff, right? The stuff is the name of these lines. So how many lines you have here, Marcelo? You have one, two, three, four, 5 lines, right? So a stuff is this. A stuff is only four, oh, sorry, 5 lines. And how many spaces? One, two, three, 4 spaces. All right, that's the stuff. A stuff is 5 lines and 4 spaces. That is the stuff. But how musicians read the stuff for music? They say this. And I'm going to play this again. Let's listen again how they read the music there.
Okay.
2 axes, up and down and left to right.
Right? They read this up and down and left
Right.
to right. Okay, so up and down, they can read it up and down, and they read it left to right. That's the first thing. The second one,
The up and down axis tells the performer the pitch of the note, or what note to play.
so what does the up and down tell the musician, Marcelo?
Pitch.
Exactly. And the pitch, in other words, is what note they should play, right? So let's listen one more time. It says that,
The pitch of the note, or what note to play.
right? Or what note to
Mm,
play. So in the up or down, they are going to see what note they are going to play. And let's see what happens in the left to right.
And the left to right axis tells the performer the rhythm of the note, or
That's what you mentioned, right? Can you read this word, please, Marcelo?
rhythm.
Very good. Rhythm. Very good. And this, in other words, is
or when to play it.
when to play it, right?
Okay.
So this is very, very interesting in music. So in music, to read the stuff, when you read up to down, you read what note you are going to play. And when you read left to right, right? So up to down, what to play. Left to right, when to play it, right? The rhythm of music. Let's listen a little bit more.
The performer the rhythm of the note, or when to play it. Let's start with pitch. To help us out, we're going to use a piano, but this system works for pretty much any instrument you can think of. In the Western music tradition, pitches are named after the first 7 letters of the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. After that, the cycle repeats itself: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. But how do these pitches get their names?
All right, so this part, what do you get there, Marcelo?
It talked about the piano, and it says that the piano has only 8 letters, but with uh, only 8 letters, and it repeat. Uh,
Exactly. Correct. And those letters are like the notes, right?
uh,
Those letters are like the notes. In Spanish, we say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do.
yeah.
But in English, they use these notes. Do you remember what letters they use, Marcelo?
A B C D E L G.
There you go, exactly. From A to G. And then it repeats and repeats, right? Let's check this last part to finish, please. Very, very short.
Okay.
Well, for example, if you played an F and then played another F higher or lower on the piano, you'd notice that they sound pretty similar compared to, say, a B. Going back to the staff, every line and every space between two lines represents a separate pitch. If we put a note in one of these lines or in one of these spaces, we're telling a performer to play that pitch. The higher up on the staff a note is placed, the higher the pitch. But there are
All right, until that part to finish now, Marcelo. What do you get in this last explanation?
I get it a little, but I think that it says about the measure of the note and the similar way uh, to uh, to to play.
To
I
play?
I
Uh-huh. Very good. Yes, this is the stuff. Do you remember we saw the stuff? One, two,
yeah.
three, four, five lines and four spaces. So it depends. This is a note. If you put the note in this line, in the second line, what note do you need to play? G,
G.
right? If you put the note in the one, two, three, fourth space, you need to play the note E, right? And sometimes you can put many notes. For example, it can be one note here, the other note here, and the other note here. So you need to play at the same time the notes E, G, and B, right? So that's the way
Mm,
musicians are going to read the stuff. They need to see where the note is located and they need to play that specific note. All right. So again, this is perhaps something different, something that you're not related to. But as I told you, it's very important to know vocabulary about any topic, right? So that we know how to talk about it and we know and how to expand more our vocabulary. Do you have any final questions or comments before finishing, Marcelo? Let me know, please.
no, teacher. Is okay. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you very much, Marcelo. We finish here then, and I'll see you tomorrow to continue with the class. All right?
Okay. Bye, teacher.
Perfect. See you tomorrow. Bye bye. Hello, Lourdes. Good evening.
Good evening, teacher.
Hello. How's everything going? Is everything okay?
Yes, everything is fine. Thank you.
That's that's great, Lourdes. Are you ready to start with the conversation?
Yes, I'm ready.
Great. So today we're going to watch at this. I was discussing, right? Perhaps you listen a little bit with Marcelo. We were watching something related to music, how to read music. And I was telling your partners it's important to know vocabulary about everything if we have to, or well, if we want to be like very good at something like language. So the first question, very simple, Lourdes. What kind of music do you usually listen to, and how much do you like music?
I think that I usually listen pop music.
Mhm.
Um, yes, or ballads, slow music. I don't know how
Okay.
to say it.
It's okay if you say a ballad. It's always going to be like slow. A ballad.
Okay,
Okay.
like ballad, like the style of Ed Sheeran or Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Uh, they are my favorite singers.
Very good. Very good. And how much do you like listen to them, or just by itself? How much do you like listen to music?
I really like it because when I work at the morning and in the evening or in the afternoon, I spend all the time work listening to music. So yes, I really enjoy listening music. Listen.
Okay. Very good, Lourdes, right? You really enjoy listening to music. So To go to this specific part, have you ever learned how to read music, Lourdes, perhaps in school, or have you ever been interested in learning how to read music or play instruments or singing?
Yes, I learned in school, in high
Mhm.
school, and in primary too. And actually, I was learning to play guitar, but not with um, partitura.
Yes, you can call that like a sheet music with sheet music.
Okay, I was learning to play guitar, but without sheet music.
Mhm. Very good. Very good.
So, but in the school, yes, I used to play float and zampoña too with the sheet music.
All right, very good. So I'm going to show you. This is the what you're saying, right? I don't know what's its rate, but it's great. So you have some experience with that, and that's always really interesting, Lourdes. I think music can be really, really well for everybody. I think it's good, right? To know how to read music. It's not perhaps that important, but to be related to music is something that is important for all of us, right? So you have this. Sometimes you call it like sheet music, and when you have like bigger things, you can also call that. I'm going to remember there's another name, but only partitura. It's always going to be called like that. All right.
Okay,
So here, of course, this is going to be related to that. How to read sheet music and be sure that you're going to play the right notes. We're going to learn the very basics of the staff because a staff is part of that element. Let's listen to this and we're going to have a conversation after this.
Music is written on 5 parallel lines that go across the page. These 5 lines are called a staff, and a staff operates on 2 axes, up and down and left to right. The up and down axis tells the performer the pitch of the note, or what note to play, and the left to right axis tells the performer the rhythm of the note, or when to play it. Let's start with pitch. To help us out, we're going to use a piano, but this system works for pretty much any instrument you can think of. In the Western music tradition, pitches are named after the first 7 letters of the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. After that, the cycle repeats itself: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. But how do these pitches get their names?
All right, until that part. There are like some things that they are teaching us. What were you able to understand, Lourdes, from this first part of the video?
okay. It says that music is the it's composed by uh, 5 lines, parallel lines
Okay,
that it reads from down to up and from left to right.
all right,
From up, from down to up, it's the the pitch, the notes.
good.
From left to right, it's the rhyme. It says that there are um, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, seven,
Good,
seven
perfect.
pitches. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all those pitches repeats like in a piano.
Okay, perfect. There you go. That was perfect. I think you got everything very, very well. That's right. This thing, right, in which you write that is a staff. So you have a staff always as part of sheet music, right? In sheet music, you're going to see staffs, many, many staffs. right? And the staffs are always like 5 lines and 4 spaces, and you explained that very well. You can read this up to down or down to up, because if you go up, it's going to be a little bit pitchy, right? It's going to be like high, and if you go down, it's going to be low, right? Very low. And you said it very well from left to right, because it's going to tell, perhaps instead of a rhyme, it's going to be called the rhythm, right? The rhythm, exactly. So, very well. And after that, you mentioned the notes. And these are notes in the English way. This is what we call, like in Spanish, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, right? But in
Yes.
English, it's going to be this A, B, C, D, A, F, G. But actually, do is going to be this one, F, right? So it's going to be like C, D, E, F, G, B, and it's going to be go again, sorry, A, B, and goes again to C. And it repeats and repeats, and as it was mentioned for you. Now, a question for, well, in this part, let's say, Lourdes, we only have these notes. Do you remember one song that you were learning some time ago, Lourdes? Do you remember if you were learning songs or if you were learning scales? What do you remember about the instrument?
Um, I remember the scales, maybe. For
Hmm.
example, with the float, the first exercise that we used to do was play the all scale. In this case, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Okay.
Uh, and that was the beginning for practicing on flute. For
Okay.
guitar, not so like that. Maybe with the uh, uh,
Cool.
pisadas. I don't remember how
Okay.
to say it.
Okay. You can say like putting your fingers on the fretboard you're talking about, right? Or you can talk about,
Yes.
perhaps you're talking about the chords. Are you talking
Okay.
about the chords? Do you mean the acordes? Because you can put the exercises to put fingers on the fretboard. That's like pisadas. There's not like a translation exactly. Or chords that, for example, you have E major, D
Yes.
major, that are like chords.
Yes, but this was when you put one finger in one cuerda, straight
Yes, string, string.
string, and you sound that string,
Okay.
and you make like a scale, but
All right.
the chords, the like A major or A minor,
Uh-huh.
it's when you put for
All of your
example
fingers, right?
three, yes, all of your
Okay.
finger.
Okay.
So I remember that I started directly with the chords,
Oh,
and after that I learned so the scale in guitar.
okay. Okay, but that's good. I mean, I can see that you have knowledge about that because of the things you're telling me. Yes, sometimes when you begin like learning an instrument, that's the very first thing you do, right? Those are called like finger exercises, right? What you were calling like pisadas. Those are only like finger exercises, right? To give like a little bit more or to be a little bit more flexible, right? And you just played. And after that, you said that very well. You were using more fingers, perhaps two or three, or sometimes all of your fingers to play chords. But that's great because you have that idea. We're going to watch one more part of this video. Let's try to understand what's the meaning of this part. But it's related of how to read these specific notes in the stuff that we have. All right, let's go.
Okay.
E, D, E, F, and G. After that, the cycle repeats itself. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. But how do these pitches get their names? Well, for example, if you played an F and then played another F higher or lower on the piano, you'd notice that they sound pretty similar compared to, say, a B. Going back to the staff, Every line and every space between two lines represents a separate pitch. If we put a note in one of these lines or in one of these spaces, we're telling a performer to play that pitch. The higher up on the staff a note is placed, the higher the pitch. But there are obviously many, many more pitches than the 9 that these lines and spaces give us. A grand piano, for example, can play 88 separate notes. So how do we condense 88 notes onto a single staff? We use something called a clef. A clef is a weird-looking figure placed at the very beginning of the staff, and it acts like a reference point telling you that a particular line or space corresponds to a specific note on your instrument. If we want to play notes that aren't on the staff, we kind of cheat and draw extra little lines called ledger lines and place the notes on them. If we have to draw so many ledger lines that it gets confusing, then we need to change to a different clef.
All right, so until this part, what were you able to understand and what extra information can you give me about these, Lourdes?
Okay, like we said before, it says that every line and every space of the stuff has it's a specific note, and like it shows in the piano, practically we repeat the notes several times, and for a staff composed by 5 lines and 4 space, it's too small put all in it. So we use something called clips that details in which note will it will be the stuff. For example, if you use the note I don't remember in in English, but for example, when you use the note sol in español, sorry, it's the treble cleaves, and it means that the staff is starting in that note. So if we want to use down notes, we can use an extra line. I don't remember the name, but it says that we can use an extra line to make the note low, or even make the note higher.
All right, great, great. I think besides not only were you able, right, to understand everything, but you also were able to add information that you know, and that's great. You were right, all right, you were very right, exactly. As you have so many like notes to play on a piano, right, on a grand piano at least, because there are many kinds of piano, right? A grand piano is going to have more than 80 notes, right? And to know what kind of note you should play, you have to use one of these clefs, right? And there's a very interesting picture over here. I think it's here. Yes. For example, this is, you were calling sol, right? Sol in English is going to be G, all right?
Okay.
G. So G, this is called the G clef, or this is called the treble clef, right? And the treble clef tells you that this specific G is, if you see, this is do, re, mi, fa, sol. So you should start playing this in this specific part. This is the note that you should play with this G clef. And of course, if this is going to be G, this one is going to be the one down below, right? F. This is going to be E. This is going to be D. Then you're going to have, if you need extra, as you were mentioning very well, you need to write a ledger line. Okay, that's the name, ledger line. So you can set 1, 2, 3, many ledger lines, as you very well said, if you want this to be lower or higher in terms of the pitch, right? And even some instruments like the piano, right, are going to be using not only the G clef, but also the F clef or the C clef, or in other words, the treble clef, bass clef, and alto clef, right? And that's really interesting. I think it's great that we can have conversation related to this, but I want to know if you have any final questions or comments related to this, Lourdes.
No, teacher, everything is very clear.
That's great. And that's great because I think here in these kind of conversations, we can teach each other, right? It's really interesting to learn or to be sure about some vocabulary. I think that perhaps this is something you know about music. I can realize that. But did you know about these specific names of music in English, Lourdes?
And no, not so much, but I was um, uh, maybe I know something about this because um, when I played the guitar, I used to search music from Ed Sheeran or Taylor Swift, and for example, that kind of chords are in English. So
All right.
it was in A B C D E F G, but I didn't realize that which one were each. So I used to search in internet too. If
Mhm.
I have I don't know, a G major, I have to search in internet in Google
All right.
with what kind of uh, pistadas have to put
Okay.
in the in the guitar.
Okay, okay. And you can also that to finger position, right? What kind of finger position I need to do that. But that's great. Okay, and it's cool. At least then with this you're going to have like an extra vocabulary that it can help you a little bit with that. But it's really interesting to talk about this again. So thank you very much for being in today's conversation, Lourdes. That's going to be everything for today. Remember that we have to finish all the second unit for Friday, and then I'm going to assign the second quiz. Okay?
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Lourdes. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye bye. Hello, good evening, Fernando.
Good evening, teacher. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. What about you? Is everything okay?
Everything is okay. Thank you.
That's great, Fernando. So let's begin with today's conversation, with today's video, that it's going to be about, again, something that I'm bringing from TED, but I'm talking about this time the benefits of bilingual brain. This is going to be today's topic. We're going to play again some part of the video. I'm going to pause it and we're going to conversate about it. All right?
Okay, teacher.
Good. Let's play it.
Hablas español? Parlez-vous français? 你会说中文吗? If you answered sí, oui, or 会, and you're watching this in English, chances are you belong to the world's bilingual and multilingual majority. And besides having an easier time traveling or watching movies without subtitles, knowing 2 or more languages means that your brain may actually look and work differently than those of your monolingual friends. So, what does it really mean to know a language? Language
All right, until that part, that's like the introduction of today's video, right? The benefits, or let's say bilingual or multilingual brains. So, what do you understand of this first part?
I understood that the brain works better when we learn more languages.
All right, all right. Do you remember what is the opposite of bilingual or multilingual?
The opposite of bilingual.
Exactly. Or how do you call a person that only speaks one language? Do you remember?
Uh, mm, like in Spanish, monolanguage.
Okay, good, exactly. As you can see here, but it's going to be lingual, all right? Monolingual.
Lingua.
Exactly,
Okay,
good.
teacher.
So you have multilingual brains and you have monolingual brains, right? Multi can go, well, two is going to be bilingual, three or more is going to be multilingual. And if you only speak one, monolingual. So, yes, we're going to talk about how different brains, right, are in people who speak only one language, sorry, or the ones who speak two or more. Let's keep listening to it and let's try to pay attention now, please, Fernando, to some of the benefits or how they are going to classify bilingual people. Let's listen, please.
a language. Language ability is typically measured in 2 active parts, speaking and writing, and 2 passive parts, listening and reading. While a balanced bilingual has near equal abilities across the board in 2 languages, most bilinguals around the world know and use their languages in varying proportions. And depending on their situation and how they acquired each language, they can be classified into 3 general types. For example, let's take Gabriella, whose family immigrates to the US from Peru when she's 2 years old. As a compound bilingual, Gabriella develops 2 linguistic codes simultaneously with a single set of concepts, learning both English and Spanish as she begins to process the world around her. Her teenage brother, on the other hand, might be a coordinate bilingual, working with 2 sets of concepts, learning English in school while continuing to speak Spanish at home and with friends. Finally, Gabriella's parents are likely to be subordinate bilinguals, who learn a secondary language by filtering it through their primary language. Because all types of bilingual people can become fully proficient in a language regardless of accent or pronunciation, the difference may not be apparent to a casual observer.
All right, until that part, there's like a lot of information here, Fernando, I know that. But do you remember some of the types that we have for bilingual people? Or what do you remember about this part of the video? It was more than 1 minute this
Mhm. Um, Here says that there are some important parts in all languages, like the listening and the reading. No, and here we can see the example with a little
with a little kid,
Mhm.
and where she could where she can learn the some names in English, like the aeroplane or the pineapple.
Okay, very well, exactly. We're talking about here, right? And you're right, how some people develop these bilingual abilities, and sometimes we develop these abilities in different ways. So let's go back to explain that part again, because you are right. Now let's have in mind that we have three types of bilingualism, all right? It's going to be related to this. The first part is related to the little girl, as you mentioned very well, Fernando, and it's Gabriela, right? Let's turn on the captions here. It says, for example, let's take Gabriela,
Take Gabriella, whose family immigrates to the US from Peru.
right? So this is the situation of Gabriela, right? As many other situations, we have this family migrating to the US from Peru when she was only 2 years old.
When she's 2 years old. As a compound bilingual,
So Gabriela, the little kid, is going to be considered what? A compound bilingual. All right. And why? Who are considered the people who are compound bilingual? The following.
Gabriella develops two linguistic codes simultaneously with a single set of concepts, learning both English and Spanish as she begins to process the world around her.
So these compound like bilingual people are going to be the ones who develop the words or the ideas at the same time, right? Because this little girl is learning English and Spanish at the same time with the same set of concepts in her head, right? So she has like a little, let's say, advantage because she's learning both languages at the same time. So that's the first type. Then we
Her
have
teenage brother, on the other hand, might be a coordinate bilingual.
this other one. I think this is covering that. Coordinate bilingual. What is the difference between the last one, compound, and the coordinate bilingual? Let's read. I'm going to hide this. Give me a second, please. And there you go. So,
Working with two sets of concepts, learning English in school while continuing to speak Spanish at home and with friends.
okay, so the difference is that the little girl was learning English and Spanish with only one set of concepts. All right, one concept for airplane and avion. Only one concept. But this guy is learning English and Spanish with two different sets of concepts. One for English and one for Spanish. But he can speak both, right? Coordinate bilingual. And then we have the last one.
Finally, Gabriella's parents are likely to be subordinate bilinguals.
And these are the last ones, right? Subordinate bilinguals. Let's see how they work.
Who learn a secondary language by filtering it through their primary language. Because all types of bilingual
All right, so this last type, subordinate bilingual, are the ones who use Spanish to learn English. And that's the main difference. It means that they filter, it says, right, by filtering it through their primary language. So they learn all these words, translating them to Spanish. It's not the same with Gabriela. Gabriela was learning Spanish and English at the same time, naturally. Her brother was learning both at the same time, not using translation, but using unique concepts for both languages. But in this case, they are learning a new language through their primary, right, or native language, in this case, Spanish. Now, here goes my question. I know this time I was talking a lot, but my question goes here, Fernando. Who do you consider, or what type of bilingual people or person do you consider you are, Fernando, and why?
Uh, I consider that the best option of the best type is the coordinate bilingual because I have to say the reason.
Yes, yes, please, Fernando. Why do you believe that you are going to be this type of bilingual person?
because in the first time you study the language. No, you study language in an institute, in a school, or in a course, and then you practice what you learned with your friends or some activity in other times. I think that's the best because
Okay.
well, you are learning in a best way, talking about grammar and another rules in the English. Because when we learn in a different way, like only talking or seeing something in the street or in any place, you can learn, but but you don't learn the exact rules or the grammatical rules that you learn in an institute or in a course. I think that's the first difference.
Okay, very well. I think that's a really, really interesting analysis, Fernando. I agree with you. In this kind of bilingual, right, type, we're going to talk about this help by or related to school, university, or a specific institute, right? Who is going to help by giving certain rules or parameters to use the language, right? And you were talking very well about grammar rules that, yes, some people don't like grammar and we have different methodologies, right? Some kind of, even some teachers believe that grammar is not that important, and sometimes we have to look for balance, right? Learn some grammar to know the rules, but also start applying those rules by practicing with speaking and so on. And here goes my second question for you, Fernando. You're talking about that you're part of this group because of the way you are learning English. Now, which way do you think is like the best? Perhaps is this one, but how? How does this best of learning English work, Fernando? How much do you think that you need to practice with grammar? How much do you need that you need to practice with only speaking? How do you think you need to divide like a class or a teaching experience to have like the best results? What do you think, Fernando?
Mm, I think that when we start the class and we are with or the students are with uh, with the battery charge, if I can
Okay.
say that,
Yes, very well.
uh, we can start with grammar because it is more um, I forgot the word, but it's maybe it's a little difficult.
Okay.
No, the grammar, the grammatical part, and but then we can continue with or we can finish the class with something or with some topic more attractive, attractive,
Hmm.
like listening or like speaking. Because when the student speak, uh, they can they can wake up in the class, no,
Very
because
well.
they have to think what they are going to say, no, and practically it obligates them to think.
All right.
And it's my personal opinion. I think that
It's great. I mean, it's very, again, very logical what you're saying. And it's really interesting, yes, because as you're saying, sometimes to learn about grammar, you really need to be there, right? With your, like, say, five senses over there. You need to be,
Mhm.
like, paying attention, and every part of you needs to be understanding that explanation, because as you mentioned very well, sometimes the grammatical part tends to be, like, the hardest part, at least in terms of organizing your ideas. But yes, later on, I think it makes lots of sense. working on something more practical because you are going to perhaps, oh well, you as a student, right? You can be more active by thinking of the words you're going to be saying, thinking of your possible answers, and that's going to be like something that wakes the student up, as you were saying. I think that's very accurate, Fernando. Great. Now that we know all these details, I think we are over time, but we're going to take a look at something very short, and we're going to see what are some of these benefits, all right, of bilingual, let's say, people. And here we have, I think, some of these. So let's take a look at this part, please.
Than in their native one. But regardless of when you acquire additional languages, being multilingual gives your brain some remarkable advantages. Some of these are even visible, such as higher density of the gray matter that contains most of your brain's neurons and synapses, and more activity in certain regions when engaging a second language. The heightened workout a bilingual brain receives throughout its life can also help delay the onset of diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia by as much as 5 years. The idea of major cognitive benefits to bilingualism may seem intuitive now, but it would have surprised earlier experts. Before the 1960s, bilingualism was considered a handicap that slowed a child's development by forcing them to spend too much energy distinguishing between languages, a view based largely on flawed studies. And while a more recent study did show that reaction times and errors increase for some bilingual students in cross-language tests, it also showed that the effort and attention needed to switch between languages triggered more activity in, and potentially strengthened, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. This is the part of the brain that plays a large role in executive function, problem solving, switching between tasks, and focusing while filtering out irrelevant information. So, while bilingualism may not necessarily make you smarter, it does make your brain more healthy, complex, and actively engaged. And even if you didn't have the good fortune of learning a second language as a child, it's never too late to do yourself a favor and make the linguistic leap from hello to hola, bonjour, or ni haos, because when it comes to our brains, a little exercise can go a long way.
All right. So again, that was a little bit like long, but to finish this up, what can you mention about these advantages of learning or speaking a second language, Fernando? And if you can see that these advantages are something that is true or not, what do you say to finish this up?
I think that it's truth all the video says in the last part. Um, for my favorite phrase was or is that to learn more languages take uh, take a healthy brain.
Very good.
I'm not sure if these are the exact
Exactly.
words, but are similar.
Very good.
And the other that then the second could be that we don't uh, we don't have an age limit to for learning a new language. You
There you
can
go.
be older than other person, but it's not late.
Exactly, exactly. I think those two are the two more remarkable ideas that they gave us, right? I agree with you. If you can see my screen again, that's the very phrase that you mentioned. Oh, sorry. There you go, right? It doesn't make you smarter, right? It's not that because you speak like two languages, you're going to be more intelligent than one person that does not speak two languages. But yes, it is going to make your brain more healthy, right? And that's very, very important. Perhaps you're going to be even more dynamic. You are going to be able to solve problems in a sometimes faster way. You're going to be able to work with multitasking, right? Those are the things that are beneficial and that they consider advantages of speaking two or more languages. But more than that is like being healthy, right? Keeping yourself healthy, your brain, and something that you mentioned that is very important. It's never too late to learn a language, right? Of course, because it has many benefits, not only professionally speaking and so on, but because of all these advantages that we talked about. To finish here, please, Fernando, I took advantage because I think Abel is not going to join. Any final questions or comments to finish today's conversation?
No, teacher, thank you. I don't have
That's
questions.
perfect. Thank you very much then for being here today, Fernando, having this conversation with me. I'll be waiting for you tomorrow for continuing with the class. All right?
Okay, teacher, let's continue tomorrow.
Great. Have a good night, Fernando. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.
You too, teacher. Bye bye.
Hello, good evening, Jasmine. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, teacher, good evening.
All right, great. Good evening. So, let's begin by trying to practice some things, Jasmine. Were you checking the content? Estaba revisando el contenido que estuvimos viendo este tiempo. Jasmine, do you have any questions about everything that you checked?
Teacher, todavía no lo he revisado. Estoy
Okay.
esperando. El examen todavía va a ser el lunes, me imagino. Creo, ¿o no?
Yes, the test is going to be assigned. El día de mañana ya va a ser designado, pero van a tener todavía hasta el día lunes a medianoche para terminarlo, Jasmine.
Ya, yo que este fin de semana yo voy a tener tiempo para revisar todo porque mi wifi sigue mal, entonces estoy esperando que vengan los técnicos.
Okay, Jasmine. But just, well, to help you out a little bit with that, para ayudarte un poco con eso, we're going to check again very briefly. Vamos a revisar igual nuevamente, bastante brevemente esto, because we're with the second unit, porque esto ya es con la segunda unidad, ¿no? Entonces, veamos lo que tiene la segunda unidad, Jasmine, bastante brevemente. Let's check this very briefly. I'm going to share my screen. Let me do it. Voy a compartir mi pantalla. All right. So, I don't know what's happening. Some problems. All right. So, in the meantime, Jasmine, let's practice a little bit of English, pero vamos un poco de justamente en inglés ahora. Try to tell me your situation in English. Try to tell me what's happening with your internet in English, Jasmine. So what is happening with your connection or with your internet, Jasmine?
Yes, teacher. Now my connection is so slow.
All right. Okay, it's slow. Like the last conversation, right? It's like you cannot hear what I'm saying sometimes. Is that correct?
Yes, teacher. So my room is on the second floor, so the Wi-Fi no is possible connecting.
Okay, good. You can say this, right? As my room or my bedroom is on the second floor, the signal, all right, or the Wi-Fi signal doesn't get here, right? So you don't get the signal, right? The signal of the Wi-Fi is too weak to get to your room, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, what provider of internet do you use, Jasmine? What provider? Is it Entel, Tigo, Conteco? What is your internet provider?
I don't know, teacher. Is Wi-Fi is my network?
Okay. All right. But you're using one of those, I imagine. Good. Was the internet the same before? Because you moved, right, Jasmine? Not long ago, you moved. You lived in a different place, right, Jasmine? Or was not that the case?
Teacher, I can listen.
Okay. So, Jasmine, I'm asking, did you move recently? I mean, did you move from the house that you lived before, Jasmine, or were you living in that place for many years?
No. I moved
You moved, right?
one month ago.
1 month ago. Okay. That's why you're having these problems also, right?
Yes.
No, of course, I don't know. I don't want to know your address and so on. But where did you live before? More or less, where did you live before, Jasmine?
I live in Santa Cruz, but before I live in other house.
Okay. So you still live in the same city, but you changed the house, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Is your old house close to this new house, or is it far from your old house?
Oh, I want move because I need more privacy.
Okay,
Privacidad.
good. Privacy, privacy.
So is for that.
For that reason, you can say, okay, good. Oh, it's because of that. All right. So because you need more privacy, you moved. All right. I think that's a really good reason, right? Everybody needs privacy. And how do you feel in that new house, Jasmine? How do you feel there?
I like because I have more privacy, but
Privacy?
here is um, my neighbors doing many parties here.
All right. All right. One more time, please, that last idea. It was not that clear, Jasmine. You like it because of your privacy and so on. But what is like the negative part, Jasmine?
My neighbors uh, doing is
Oh,
many parties.
oh, all right. All right. So you have neighbors who like parties and they have a lot of parties. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's something kind of negative, right? I don't know if you're going to get used to that. How often do they have parties, Jasmine? How
Every
often?
weekend or maybe in Friday or Wednesday.
Okay,
Is
so it's a lot.
no in a specific day.
Not okay, but very often it seems, right? At least
Yes.
every weekend. It can be any day. Okay. Well, that's actually, yes, that's something negative. Of course, it's not bad to have parties, but let's say it's not a good thing to have it all the time, right? I'm talking about that. How much do you like parties, Jasmine?
I like parties, but only on weekend.
On the weekend? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
In
And
the week,
how
I don't like.
Okay. Yes, during the weekdays, right? You can call that during the weekdays. All right. So during the weekdays, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and so on, you don't like parties, only on the weekends, right?
Yes.
Okay. But now, because of the pandemic, Jasmine, I imagine that you have not been going to parties, right? Because of the pandemic.
Yes. Uh, but in the house or in the room,
Okay,
eh,
you can have your. Tell me.
¿cómo se pueden juntar? ¿Cómo puedo decir? Ay, sí.
Oh, you can say we can get together or we can have a meeting, right? Or what we can gather. I'm going to write in the chat, Jasmine, all right? Those options. So yes, you're right. When you're in a room or in your house, you can meet up with your friends, right? You can meet up. You can have a meeting because have a meeting is not only a formal meeting. You can have a meeting for something like a party. You can also say you can get together. This is very common, Jasmine. When you say get together, it means se juntan. All right, we
Oh,
get together and we have a party. Okay, okay. So you call some friends, you like get together in a house and you have your private party.
yes.
Okay, all right, very good. I'm talking about that because let's practice with that also. In terms of music, let's say, what kind of music do you listen to, Jasmine?
Oh, mm, when I'm staying in my room, I like to listen electronic music or rock.
Okay, very
But
good.
with my friends, only reggaeton or, or sometimes electronic.
All right, that's good. I think it makes sense, right? Sometimes when you are by yourself, when you are alone, you want different kind of music because you like the lyrics and something like that, right? But when you are with your friends, you want something to dance, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any favorite bands or artists, Jasmine?
Dance.
It can be for dancing or it can be when you are alone in your room.
I like a DJ. I like electronic. Um, so Much? Mucho?
Okay. Yes, a lot. You can say a lot. I like
Lot?
electronic music a lot.
I like DJ Vintage Culture.
Okay. What else?
Uh,
What else? For example, in electronic, what artists do you like in electronic music? You're saying that one. What else?
Rufus du Sol.
Okay. And what
Um,
else? One more.
mm, mm, mm. Tiesto, maybe.
Okay. Okay. Good. And what about you? You mentioned also when you are alone, you like to listen to some rock music. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. What about some artists or bands that you can remember that you like when you listen rock a lot?
Uh, it's not only rock, it's like a um, metal symphonic.
Okay, all right. That's really interesting. Do you know some names of the bands that you listen to?
Yes, I love Nightwish,
Okay, great.
um, Epica,
All right.
um, so I like to eh, metal like Marilyn Manson.
All right. Oh wow, that's really interesting. All right, because yeah, it's better if you say two at the end of your sentence, Jasmine. I like metal music too, right? As Marilyn Manson and so on. But that's great, and I think that's interesting, Jasmine, because you also listen to reggaeton, right? But you like Marilyn Manson and this iconic, and that's really interesting. Look, I don't think that's very common, but I think that that's really interesting. Jasmine. And in terms of reggaeton, for example, what kind of artists do you like?
Um, Anuel, I think. um,
Okay,
Bad Bunny uh, is the artist common.
okay, but it's
I
good,
don't like
right?
only I listen because my friend is
All right.
uh
So it's not your
me da lo
favorite
mismo.
type of. Okay, it's like it doesn't matter. You can say
Okay,
it
yes.
doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'm writing it. All right, you can say it doesn't matter. Like it's like I don't care, but with that sense, I me da lo mismo. It doesn't matter, or I don't mind. I don't mind listening to reggaeton, all right, when I'm with my friends. You can say this sentence, Jasmine. I don't mind listen to reggaeton when I'm with my friends. It's like saying, no me importa, me da igual escuchar reggaeton cuando estoy con mis amigos. Okay, you can say all that. All right, so it's like I told you, right? When you're by yourself, you want music that you really like, but when you're with your friends, you just want something to have fun, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I know this is different, but in a certain way, we're having conversations. It's interesting to have a conversation like this with you, Jasmine. Now, let me show you something now that we had this short conversation. The things that you need to practice for this week and for this next quiz, Jasmine. First, you need to know phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are words, Jasmine. Break down, run into, sit down, catch up, all right? And these are phrasal verbs because it's one verb and a particle, and the meaning is different. For example, the meaning of breakdown is stop working, and you use this with vehicles. For example, you can say, my car broke down. It means my car stopped working. Run into means to meet someone unexpectedly or by accident. For example, when you go to the supermarket, Jasmine, and you see your ex-boyfriend, but you didn't want to see him, but you see him. So what's that? That's running into. Is when you meet someone by accident. All right. So you can say, for example, yesterday I ran into my ex-boyfriend. All right, that was a bad experience. Sit down. You know this, right? Sit down is to sitting, and catch up is the one over here. To catch up is to like be at the same level with someone. For example, Jasmine, now that you were not in class these days, You need to catch up with your partners. It means that you need to review content by yourself to be at the same level with your partners because they've been covering more content, and you need to catch up with them. All right, it's like ponerse al día, catch up.
Oh,
So
okay.
these are the words, Jasmine. These are phrasal verbs, and you need to know very well these words. Tienes que conocer muy bien. They are like verbs. Simplemente son como verbos. The only thing is that the meaning of the words is different. El significado es diferente. Break significa romperse, pero breakdown significa dejar de funcionar. Run significa correr, but run into significa encontrar por accidente. Sit down es muy similar, eso no importa. Catch significa agarrar. Con catch up ya no significa agarrar, significa cosa, ponerse al día. All right, so you need to be careful with these words, Jasmine. These are called phrasal verbs. The second thing that you need to check is gerunds and infinitives. This is something we covered yesterday, Jasmine. You need to know when to use ing and when to use to. For example, with enjoy, Jasmine, that means disfrutar. After enjoy, you always use gerunds. Siempre usas un verbo con ing. Por ejemplo, si quieres disfrutar, con esa lógica, Jasmine, ¿cómo dirías, how do you say, yo disfruto bailar? How do you say that?
I enjoy dance.
Ajá,
I
ahí
enjoy to
estaría,
dance.
ajá, justamente ahí eso es lo que vamos a ver. La regla con enjoy te dice que no puedes usar ni la forma base, que es dance. Dance es forma base. Entonces con enjoy estaría mal. To dance es infinitive, pero con enjoy te dice que no se usa, entonces también está mal la oración. La única opción con enjoy es esto de acá, Jasmine, el que ves en pantalla, gerund, que es ing. Entonces, ¿cómo sería la oración? How would the sentence be, Jasmine?
I enjoy dance.
Ah, pero en realidad el enjoy se queda normal. I enjoy, yo disfruto, sino el verbo que viene después tiene que estar con ing, Jasmine.
Ah, but it's to
No,
dancing
directamente.
or only I enjoy dancing.
Exactamente, directamente. No vamos a usar el to antes del gerund, ¿ya? Solamente hay tres formas de escribir el verbo, Jasmine. Puedes decir dance, forma base. Puedes decir to dance, que es infinitivo. O puedes decir dancing, que es el gerund. Entonces, si alguien te pide gerund, directamente después de ese verbo pones el verbo con ing. Entonces, como dijiste, sería bien el último. I enjoy dancing. ¿Ya? I enjoy dancing. Otro verbo, te doy otro ejemplo. Después de avoid, avoid significa evitar. La regla también te dice que sí o sí, ya, no hay otra opción. Sí o sí tienes que poner gerund después de avoid, que significa evitar. ¿Cómo dirías entonces? Ella evita comer pasta. How do you say that, Jasmine?
Mm, how is evitar? What is?
Avoid.
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 She avoid eating pasta.
Very well, muy bien. Solamente una cosita te está faltando, que no es de lo que estamos aprendiendo, pero una regla anterior. Tercera persona. ¿Te acuerdas que si es tercera persona y es presente, ¿qué se le aumenta al verbo? Va a ser she avoids, ¿no? Avoids.
La S. Yes.
Exactamente. There you go. So one more time, please, Jasmine. Una vez más. Tell me one more time the sentence.
She avoid eating pasta.
There you go. Great. Eso es lo que tienes que saber bien, Jasmine. There are some verbs that you use with gerund and there are some verbs that you use with infinitive. Hay ciertos verbos que usan con gerundio y otros con infinitivo. Todo está en el curso de Google Classroom, Jasmine, la presentación y en la clase de ayer también. Por ejemplo, después de esos verbos de acá, need y wait, sí o sí tienes que usar ¿qué cosa? Infinitive. Entonces aquí no vas a decir, por ejemplo, need learning, estaría mal. Need learn, está mal. La única opción es need to learn. Wait to begin. Por ejemplo, el verbo want te dice que la regla para usar want es que uses infinitivo. Infinitivo es el verbo con to adelante. ¿Cómo dirías entonces esta oración, Jasmine? ¿No? Yo quiero viajar mañana. How do you say that?
I want to travel tomorrow.
There you go. Exactly. La única forma correcta, Jasmine. Si dices I want to travel, está mal. Si no usas el to. Si dices I want traveling, está mal. Porque eso es gerund. La regla te dice que tienes que usar infinitive. Pero para eso, Jasmine, justamente es un poco, no moroso, pero sí tienes que tomarte el tiempito para hacerlo. Tienes que memorizar los verbos más importantes con cuáles usas gerunds y los verbos más importantes con cuáles usas infinitive. Alright, that's very important. And the last one, y el último es el que vamos a ver mañana, Jasmine. Vamos a ver mañana ese topic. Trata de verlo. Mañana justamente voy a explicar eso a tu clase. Trata de ver el video, pero eso sería lo más importante. Do you have any questions to finish today's activity, Jasmine?
Yes, teacher. I can ask if I can change my my homework. It's for today, but I can't today because I here.
Okay, okay. Don't worry. So, when do you think that you can finish it, Jasmine? ¿Cuándo más o menos crees que puedas terminarla? Para que lo extienda ahorita y ya no se pueda mover porque si no a veces se quedan unos ceros ahí y afecta siempre la nota. ¿Cuándo crees que puedas terminar o puedas hacerlo, Jasmine?
Saturday, please, teacher.
Saturday. Okay. I'm going to change it. You're going to have until Sunday. Te voy a dar hasta el día domingo a medianoche. Okay? It's going to be until that time. Tú tienes entonces todo el sábado y el domingo para poder terminar esto pendiente. Pero déjame reasignar que debe ser esto de acá. This is also for you, right? Este es el que te di también para ahora, justamente, ¿verdad? All right, so I'm going to change it for Saturday. No, for Sunday. Hasta el día domingo tienes todavía. Pero no te olvides que también tienes que hacer la unidad 2, Jasmine. You also need to work with the second unit.
If
All right?
possible, both.
Yes, you need to work both. Es muy importante que ya trabajes ambas unidades, Jasmine, porque en sí la segunda ya está puesta igual para mañana. Ok, la segunda unidad ya tendría que terminarse para mañana como tal. And that's really important to do it. ¿No? Y eso es muy importante de hacerlo. But what I'm also going to do, pero lo que también voy a hacer, I'm going to reassign this. Nuevamente voy a reasignar también la unidad número 2. Bueno, no reasignar, extender. Alright, I'm going to extend the time of this second unit. Como ves, esto, Model C2 es la segunda unidad. 7 de tus compañeros ya terminaron y es para mañana a medianoche. But I'm going to change this again. Nuevamente estoy cambiando, bueno, extendiendo esta fecha. And it's also going to be for Sunday. También va a ser para el día domingo, Jasmine. Así que trata de darte un tiempito, quizá un poquito el día sábado para la 1. Y después trata de culminar también con esta segunda unidad. Okay. It's also going to be for Sunday. También tendría que ser para el día sábado. Porque recuerda que tenemos una semana para cada unidad. La primera semana fue para la primera, que ya pasó. Esta segunda semana hasta el viernes, justamente es el final, donde tus compañeros ya tienen que terminar. No les falta muchos, que es esta segunda unidad. Y ya estaría el quiz mañana hasta el día lunes que se puede tomar el segundo quiz. Y el día lunes de la siguiente semana estaríamos asignando ya la tercera unidad que va a ser hasta el día viernes. Por eso es importante que podamos ponernos al día ahí. All right, Jasmine?
Yes, teacher. Sorry.
No, don't worry, don't worry. I know what's happening there. Has estado con cuestiones de mudanza, como dijiste, luego esta cuestión del internet. So it happens, sucede. Pero trata justamente de ponerte al día más que todo para no perjudicarte a ti. Okay?
Okay,
Let's
teacher.
finish here then, Jasmine. Thank you for being in today's conversation. And I hope I can see you soon. Espero poder verte pronto cuando todo pueda estar solucionado con el internet, Jasmine.
Thank you so much, teacher.
All right. You're welcome. Have a good night and see you, Jasmine. Good night.
See you, teacher. Good night.